Welcome in, everybody, to Right Stuff, a Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by Empire Games. I am Yannie, here with Nathan, and we are running out of content for this season.
Yep, we're scraping the bottom of the barrel here. The games heat up. We have less stuff to talk about, though.
Yeah. If you were worried about our giant playoff preview episode a couple weeks back, you will enjoy this one. Probably more, I guess.
Yeah, it's a little bit more condensed, a little bit more truncated. I would say the playoff games were overall pretty high quality, right? All of these games were decided by one touchdown, which was not the case the first round of the playoffs. So yeah, lots of pretty good games to cover here.
Yeah, and you might have seen them live because we streamed them on our YouTube channel. Definitely go give it a follow there. Those previous games got streamed, and our upcoming games are also going to be streamed. So you will be able to watch the thrilling conclusion of Empire Cup Season 8 on your screens at home and revel in all the joy.
Beamed directly into your cortex by the monkey-killing cortex chip. What's the name of that company?
Neuralink?
Yes.
Yeah.
Beamed directly to your cortex.
Yes.
Via Neuralink.
Just stay away from microwaves. All right, I figure we could go through in chronological order the way the games happened over the course of the week.
Sounds good.
To give you the chance to talk first.
Yeah, okay.
So I
love that.
Yeah. We had Great Treat, Good Boyus, and Slaughterhouse 11. And not to spoil too many things, but that may be the last time I say that name on this podcast.
Yeah, it was a bloody, bloody game. By far the most damage that my team has taken during the course of this league. And I dished out basically for every casualty I didn't do in my first game against Chris, I inflicted 2 in this game, more or less, right? Because I'm playing against stunties. Will had his kind of like pick of inducements, and so he opted to go with the Mighty Blow +4 package of Morgue and Deeproot. And so I was worried about my player's safety, and apparently I had every right to. In the first half, I got the ball first, and I opted to score. I think I exploded like 2 gnomes. The very first gnome I touched in that game exploded. And then I think I casualtied a gnome on like turn 2 as well. And then my drive got a little suspect because I think Deeproot like based my ball carrier, and I had to kind of like make a dodge with him, and that was not necessarily safe. And I failed the dodge, but got the reroll, and that was like pretty scary in that moment because I failed that first dodge and was like, uh-oh, this is how I lose the game, because I think both Morgue and Deeproot kind of had me like pinned up against the sideline. But I managed to wriggle out of there, get the touchdown, and I was hoping to stop Will there, but I knew he had like a lot of time, and sure enough, I wasn't able to stop him. So I think we were tied 1-1 at the half. And then I have to kick back to him. Now at this point, I've managed to take out quite a few gnomes, and I even managed to KO a tree. I think the Bloodspawn KO'd a tree somewhere in there. And actually, I think my Bloodspawn KO'd 2 trees. I KO'd a tree on the first drive and it didn't come back, and then I KO'd his other tree, the non-Deeproot tree. It was Treevil and Treeface or whatever, the 2 trees on his team. They were both KO'd by the end of the half, and so he got one of them back for the drive on his offensive drive. And he actually went for a throw teammate touchdown with Deeproot. And got a touchdown pretty fast. And so that left me time to score. So I was in an interesting place where my goal was to grind through his team, chew as many players up as I could on that drive, and then score on turn 16, send it to overtime with no and have him out players that could actually score, right? And so it looked pretty good. Like that, it looked like that attempt was going to work because I think he had like a bad. His first turn of defense was really, really bad. I think he failed a dodge or something. He did something on that turn that caused like a premature turnover. And I had a lot of follow-up hits on gnomes, and I think I casualtied 2 of those gnomes. I think I KO'd another one. It was one of those where I just removed a bunch of players, and I kept blitzing Morg with my Bloodspawn because I was trying to get Morg out of the game. Because that would really alleviate the pressure. I could just stall however I wanted to then, right? With if your only option to get to my ball carrier is trees, I can play keep away from trees, right? And so on that drive, after that turn where I removed people, and that was probably one of the best turns that I've had all season. I experienced one of the worst turns I've had all season, where I rolled my first block of the turn is double skulls, and so I have to re-roll it. My like third or fourth block of that turn is double skulls again, so I have to re-roll that. And I was trying to save all my re-rolls for the overtime, right? If I'm playing for it, and so I I ended my turn with like a blitz from the Bloodspawn into Deeproot, and I hit Deeproot on 5, and I roll both down, and I really don't want Deeproot hitting my Bloodspawn back, and so I use Pro. I get a push, so I opt to use the push. I go for it. The Bloodspawn fails to go for it. I'm actually fine with this because then the Bloodspawn's on the ground and Deeproot's not hitting with Mighty Blow +2, right? However, Will breaks armor and then casualties the Bloodspawn. And I actually thought my chances to win the game like expired right there because I don't have a piece now that threatens the big guys the way that the Bloodspawn does. Unfortunately, it was only miss the rest of this game. It wasn't out for the following game. But I basically just have to score in this instance because I can no longer threaten Morg and I can no longer threaten Deeproot. And I really don't want him blitzing one of my guys Mighty Blow +2 every turn while I try to like keep the ball away from him. So we're tied 2-2. And so we line up. At this point, I'm down a few players. I think I'm playing with like 10 on defense, maybe 9, and then he is lining up, and I've killed a lot of gnomes by this point of the game, and so he's still got 1 fox. He gets back his other tree, so he's got both trees, Deeproot, Morg, a fox, a gnome lineman, an illusionist, and the Beastmaster. Because he was talking about how he wished the tree hadn't come back in the game. That way he would have had 1 of each piece. And the tree broke up the beautiful symmetry of his team at that point. So, so he has like a huge strength advantage on me now because the Bloodspawn's gone. And I still have some solid players left. And on his opening hits, Deeproot kills like my block Mighty Blow Bloodseeker, just straight dead. And I had used my Apothecary earlier in the game because a random foul that he threw resulted in a Bloodseeker dying as well. And so I opted to Apothecary that and got it back in the game. And so I don't have Apothecary for this hit. Guy's dead. Which was a shame because I think that guy had 2 casualties during the course of the game. He was really racking gnomes up. And so that's obviously bad. And he kind of like makes a cage. He gets the ball to a fox. He makes a cage around it kind of towards midfield. And so I commit a good chunk of my team there. I leave 2 of my wrestle tackle marauders like midfield, because if the fox tries to reverse field on me, I wanted them in a place where they could go wherever they needed to on the field, because those were my answers to the foxes, right? And so I get a block on Morg and I knock him over, and I get a random armor break on Morg and he's stunned, which is great because that means he's out of the next play. I have a 2-die hit on a tree, which I throw, and it ends up being like push. And he opts not to stand firm, and then I go 2-die uphill, which was not great. And I roll a skull, and I've got 1 reroll left, and so I'm like, well, I can't use it here. But my goal was to try to like push my way into the cage with some players. And so my guy goes down. And so that tree I didn't knock over kills my block, tackle, guard Khorne on the next turn with his hit, which is a straight up debacle for me, because that guard was like giving me the strength I need. He was like very instrumental on that previous turn because his assist was needed for Morg and the tree at the same time. And so that guy's dead. And he had scored like 7 star player points worth of stuff in that game, because I think he had 2 casualties, plus he scored like one of my touchdowns. And so I'm out that guy. And Will reverses field with the fox, runs it to the opposite sideline, like goes for it twice. And then he has Deeproot go to blitz one of my wrestle tackle guys, but Deeproot's got to make a go for it. And he rolls a 1, and so he tries to loner and fails the loner check, and so Deeproot just kind of falls over midfield. And I send my guy after the fox, the wrestle tackle guy. My first block on the fox is double skulls, so I have to use my last reroll, because the fox is easily within scoring position at this point. So I have to use my last reroll. I get pushes, and then I have to like do a go for it to do the follow-up hit. But I managed to knock over the fox and casualty it, get it off the field. So I know we're secure for overtime. And I throw like a couple more hits, and I move one of my guys into scoring range. And then I run like another marauder over to go pick up the ball, and I succeed on that pickup. And like the position that I'm in is like, do I throw it past this turn or do I throw it next turn, right? If I throw the pass now, it needs like a 6 for accuracy, but if I roll like a 4, 3, or a 2, it's going to be wildly inaccurate, and the ball will end up somewhere on the pitch, and I don't necessarily want that. So I opt for the pass on turn 16. Will doesn't have like a good way to really stop me from scoring. I think he moves like a gnome illusionist next to my guy who is in scoring range. But everything else is kind of tied up, and so I get I think I'm able to like block off the gnome illusionist sidestep and where it can teleport to. I block off that, blitz it out of the way so I don't have to make a dodge with the guy. And I walk up to throw the pass with the marauder. It's a short pass. I need a 5. I roll a 4. The pass is inaccurate. It scatters to the left. It scatters up, and then it scatters diagonally back onto the guy that I targeted, who rolls the 4 to catch it because it's not accurate. And then he makes his go for it and scores. Closes out the game 3-2. I get bailed out by an inaccurate pass on the last turn to avoid overtime, because I think if we go to overtime, then I may not have a team through Morg and Deeproot by that point. So incredible end to that game. It was good that overtime ended too, because I wanted to go home and watch Andor, because the new 3 episodes We're like 15 minutes away from premiering from the end of that, and if I had been late, I would have heard about it from my Andor watching buddies. So,
Well,
yeah,
I'm very glad for your Andor fandom that was the result.
Yeah, it was a crazy game.
Yeah.
Like I said, lots of blood on both sides, and he killed two of, in my estimation, he killed like my third and fourth best players. I think it depends on the type of Blood Bowl player you are. You might think that the block, tackle, guard player might even be better than my block, dodge, sure hands, Khorne gore, right? Depending on what kind of situations you're looking for. But yeah, that game was that game was a nail biter. That was some playoff Blood Bowl right there for sure.
Yeah, I want to deviate a little bit from our normal procedure and do our in memoriam by game for this one. So for Great Tree Good Boys, we had Slime, the gnome lineman, murdered. And then for your team, Scourgis the Slate Grip, and who was this other one?
It was Zingox, right?
Zarox.
Zarox, yeah.
Zarox.
Zingox was the guy who died earlier in the game, but yeah, Zarox. This is my salute to fallen heroes right here. You can't see it, but I am saluting them. These guys are they served me extremely well during the course of the season. Zarox was a piece I could always count on. I'm giving him his obituary now. This is an obituary for a fallen Blood Bowl player. Zarox, it was always where I needed him during the course of the season. He was a really instrumental piece to a lot of my wins. And he was my favorite sculpt of the Khorne gores. He's the Khorne gore who's like bringing his fist down on somebody. Looked really cool. Like you look at the model and you're like, that guy's got Juggernaut for sure. And so yeah, well, I'll miss you. And Scourgis, he was the Bloodseeker who was most competent, which is why he got Mighty Blow first. And so I wish he were still around. There's lots of halflings that I think he would love to be killing somewhere down the pipe. But yeah, we'll see you at the crossroads, guys.
I think they both earned their entrance into Khorne's.
Khorne's domain, so, for sure. Yeah. I mean, all you can ask for. I mean, they both had 2 casualties in that game. So honestly, I guess that's really what they got, what they deserved then, right? At that point, they fought with enough honor and spilled enough blood to enter Khorne's domain.
Yes. All right. Our next game was on the other side of the bracket. We had tried rebranding to the Some Luck Shucks. Did not work.
Yeah.
ROUS gets a 1-0 win.
Yeah, the joke I made right after that game was if I told you that there was a Gnome Khorne game and a Skaven Dark Elf game, and the results of one of those games was 1-0, and the result of the other one was 3-2, which do you think is which? I think most people would say, well, the Skaven Dark Elf game is the one that had 5 touchdowns in regulation, and you would be wrong.
Yeah, so this game we saw some interesting counterplay between the two coaches. Skaven went in as overdog because of no rerolls. Keeps your team value nice and lean. Probably would have liked to have some rerolls for this game. But overdogging Bomber and having an answer for Bomber that was more expensive than Bomber himself on the other side for Dark Owls. Which is an interesting strategy. I think he told you about it before.
Yeah, Coop went to go with the wizard, and so you can't fireball before the other person takes their first action. But Frog, when we looked it up, Frog does not have that same limitation on it. Frog says before or after anybody's turn. So I believe Juan was receiving in that game, and so Coop hit Bomber with the Frog with the zap before Bomber even got to throw a bomb. And so if you look at the tour play recap for this game, Bomber threw a lot of fouls, but that's a frog-shaped bomber stepping on people's heads. And so Juan used every part of the frog there on offense. And this game was a tale of 2 halves. Juan did some catastrophic damage to the Zero Luck Chucks before halftime. Like, got rid of both Witch Elves, got rid of like 2 Blitzers, 2 Blodgers, right? Something along those lines, just chewing through them. And then Coop is setting up on defense with, I don't know, or he's setting up to receive the ball in the second half with like 7 or 8 people, and turns the game around, starts chewing through some Skaven. Somewhere in the first half, the Rat Ogre got KO'd, and it didn't come back in to the game. And so that second half of this game was like really harrowing. Juan managed to strip the ball, but there was like this crazy sequence towards the end of the game. Juan strip balled, he's taken the ball, gets it with a gutter runner, and runs to his own backfield. And I think Juan has moved through his rerolls at this point. And Juan goes to hit a player and double skulls, uses his last reroll and double skulls. And that blitzer, it hits the ground and is KO'd. So Juan goes from trying to throw a hit to losing a player, right? Which is like worst case scenario. And so Coop knocks over the gutter runner with the ball. He recovers the ball. And so the next turn, Juan has to scramble. He gets like a 1-die hit with like a wrestle gutter runner. Gets the boat down. The ball pops out. Juan recovers it with another gutter runner. Coop goes to hit that gutter runner. And so the thing is, the ball keeps moving ever closer to Juan's end zone as the sequence keeps happening. Okay. And so it's one of those where, like, if the right elf knocks the ball loose and another elf goes and grabs it, then Coop can tie the game in this instance. He's just like a couple steps away from it. And so the turn where Coop can probably get the touchdown that he needs, he goes to throw the hit, and he finally rolls double skulls. And so he, of course, has no rerolls. His player goes down. Juan's able to move the ball out of the way. Clock expires, and Juan wins it 1-0 on the back of the double skulls. I think it's fitting that the Zero Luck Chucks, the last roll that they made in that game was double skulls. I think when you're playing with 0 rerolls, that's probably gonna be the case more often than not. The last thing that you do in a game is gonna be a failure. Last thing you do in the season is gonna be a failure of some kind, right?
Right. Yeah. But overall, it was a really good season to
put
together.
I agree.
At the end.
Yeah, I mean, elves are not a bad candidate for this, right? You succeed on everything on a 2, and he had some bad luck in the early part of the season. But his team came together late in the season, and then you really got to take advantage of the inducement game after that point. And so he was able to take some outsized inducements. And then it didn't hurt that he played fairly well in a lot of those games. He was talking about how the no rerolls, it's kind of like sevens. I think both of those situations make you better Blood Bowl players because you got to focus on what's important. You really got to decide, is this action worth taking?
Yeah. One death in this game. It was a very death-filled week. With only 4 games. We're already up to 4 deaths. Critical one of the Witch Elves.
Dead.
On turn 2. I think that honestly was one of the big turning points of the game. Was on turn 2, Witch Elf is dead. Turn 3, the other Witch Elf is out.
Yeah.
So those would have been pieces he would have loved to have had. Like if it's a Witch Elf going down and has a ball, gets wrestled down, it's got jump up, right? So he can get it. There's a chance, wrestle's not good enough. He just picks it up and runs.
Yep.
And then it's out. But
yeah, right. The Witch Elves would have been really good down the stretch. But that wasn't an option here.
Yep, unfortunately. Okay, next up we've got the other game from this bracket set up for the semifinals matchup here. Bad Moon Rising, Southern California Trojans. A 2-1 somewhat classic gym game, I say.
Yeah, I put a textbook gymming. in as my notes for this game. This was and Chase mentioned that he felt like he needed to stall one more turn, but he felt confident enough. I don't even really think he took that much damage at this point, right? I think his whole team was in good shape, and so he scored and gave Jim 2 turns, and then Jim managed to wrangle up a touchdown during that process. And then Jim was able to eat most of the second half and score, and then Chase didn't have enough in the tank to tie it up to send it to OT. So yeah, I mean, I think this was kind of a textbook Jim game. This is probably the game I got to see the least of. So I'm not entirely confident. I saw the initial foray into the game, and I think I was doing some Blood Bowl play test at the time. So while the rest of the game was resolving, I was busy playing my own game. I was just checking in to see what the score was and stuff like that. So but this was one I had actually picked Chase for that game because I felt like his team was in really good shape to beat Jim. But Jim did get money for that game. He took a biased referee, which is kind of an interesting pick. But I can see the justification, right? You want to foul with some zombies, and the biased ref makes it so that your guys are less likely to get kicked out. And Chase had a dirty player sneaky get, and so you can pay $130K or whatever at this point to kind of negate that player and then make your fouling about twice as effective. Maybe that's not how the math works out on it, but you can throw fouls with zombies opportunistically, and then they'll stay in the game twice as often. So
yep. So that's going to set us up for a very interesting match to talk about in the second half of the show.
Yeah,
we got one game left though, which was Halflings and Black Orcs.
Yeah, the Halfling Justice and Of Salesman. This was a crazy game. I don't know if you got to watch any of this.
I did not get to watch any of it.
Okay, so I watched the whole first half, and I had it up on my computer while I was doing other stuff, playing some video games, and had it up and was keeping track of the game that way. And the first half was like all Wayne. Jurgen got the ball first. Jurgen went scorched earth, like fired a bunch of his team to get his team value down low enough so that Wayne wouldn't have all of the stuff that he's accustomed to. So Wayne had to cut his team to 11 players. He had to fire some of his skilled up halflings. And then he opted, Jurgen had it at such a level where, because he overdogged Bomber and a bribe, Wayne could then get Griff and a chef. And so, but there's like a world where Jurgen goes into that game without Bomber, and I think if he knew how Bomber would end up playing out in the game, he would probably opt not to take Bomber. One of the things I'll say about this game is I was surprised by the number of times one of the players got punished for one of their decisions. It was quite often. There were a lot of things in this game where one player got screwed and you could think, oh, that lost that player the game. And so the first half was all Wayne, like I said, and Jurgen's got the ball in like a kind of like a caged up situation, and he ends up making a dodge with a goblin. And if this goblin breaks free from this dodge, Jurgen probably scores, because I think Wayne would have had a lot of trouble trying to muster a defense. And Jurgen had set up like a screen on one side of the pitch, was kind of like working his way down. Jurgen was first half, Jurgen was having trouble hurting halflings. And he might have gotten like 1 or 2 casualties or whatever. So Wayne's got 13. He's got Rodney and Griff for this game. And so this this goblin fails the dodge in this instance. Fills the 3 up with a reroll. And the ball lands within 3 squares of Rodney. And so Rodney gets to use his once per half, hits it with the fishing line, reels it in, hands it off to Griff, and Griff is gone the other direction. And Jurgen can't catch him. He's just out of position for it. And so Wayne puts the ball in, puts Jurgen back on defense. And Jurgen has, I think, 2 or 3 turns to score. It may have even just been 2 turns to score or something like that. And Wayne was thinking, I'll take this touchdown here. I'll be in good shape. It'll be hard for Jurgen to score. And Jurgen puts together this drive, which is a classic, like, I'm using every part of my team, maximizing squares, sets up like a really good screen on one side of the pitch, and manages to tie it up at the half, 1-1. And Wayne's got a 1-turn attempt, and so he sets up. I think he's out of rerolls at this point, but he sets up a 1-turn offense kind of like thing where he's got people positioned at different parts of the pitch depending on where the ball could land. He's got Rodney, who's got on the ball, who can then use that to go recover the ball, and the ball scatters all the way back to the end zone, and scatters out of bounds. And so he gets a touchback, so he gets to put it on whoever it is. So that saves him like a bunch of rolls, right? Because he doesn't have to roll to pick it up. He doesn't have to do all this other stuff. He just gets to stick it on the halfling that's right next to the tree. But the one tree has to like knock a black orc out of base with the other tree so that the throw is a little bit safer. No re-rolls. The tree double skulls, falls over. No 1-turn attempts. Doesn't even get to throw the halfling at this point. And so both players are setting up with like 10. Wayne gets the ball back. And I watched like a little bit of this half because when I was watching it, I was like, Wayne's got this. He's going to be able to stall the whole half. And so I was going to have to work. And so I left the house. So during the drive, I get to where I'm going to go get some lunch. And during that drive, Jurgen has started to just pummel halflings. He's just peeling them off the pitch. His team's in pretty good shape, and he more or less forces Wayne to score much faster than he needed to. And so Jurgen gets to answer back on his offensive drive, and he sets up another drive. And there's just way fewer halflings at this point than there were at the beginning. And somewhere along the way, Jurgen had a goblin who got an agility down during the course of the season. And so this goblin is the point man on the screen. And so Wayne manages to set up a 3-die block with Griff into Jurgen's 7-speed block dodge goblin. And finds the POW on 3 dice. And so that goblin falls over. The ball scatters from that hobgoblin to the agility 4+ goblin, who spikes a 6 to catch it. And Jurgen makes the dodge, the 4-up dodge, with a dodge reroll to run that goblin in and score it on turn 16 to tie the game, to send it to overtime. And so they're in overtime. Neither of them have rerolls. Wayne went 1 for 6 on the chef in the game. He got 1 reroll in the first half, went 0 for in the second half. And so I think Jurgen may have had like 1 reroll for overtime. And then Wayne wins the roll. And then they Jurgen had like a lunch to get to, so there was like the suspense built for a few hours because Jurgen went to like a lunch at like one of the nearby restaurants, then came back so they could finish out the game. And sure enough, Wayne's got the ball, And Jurgen sets up his defense, and he's peeling halflings, because I think Jurgen had 9 people in overtime. Wayne had 7. So that's how they set up. And so the trees are still active and Griff is still active, but like Rodney got murdered somewhere in the second half. And so Jurgen really pressures the cage that Wayne is making. And at some point he manages to get one of the tackle blackworks on Griff. And so Wayne goes to dodge away, because that's his best option in this instance. He has not used Griffs once per game yet. So he goes to dodge and he rolls a 1. And he uses Griffs once per game, and it's a 1. Griff falls over. The ball lands in like behind the trees. And so Jurgen sends the house after it, but he can't get anybody onto the ball, because the Black Orc team is just kind of like slightly too slow. So on the next turn, Griff stands up, walks onto the ball in 3 tackle zones, rolls the 5 to pick it up, dodges out, gets it, and then manages to get away far enough away that on the next turn, Jurgen's best option is to blitz with like some goblins, and so he's got to set up like a bunch of goblins to throw like a 2-die, because all the black orcs are out of range, thanks to the way the trees were positioned. They were a good like fence against the black orcs. And so Jurgen fails like a go for it with one of the goblins to set up an assist, and then Griff dodges out, breaks away, scores the 3rd touchdown for the halflings. And then Jurgen's got a couple turns to score. He's got like 3 turns to score or whatever. Wayne, I think, is playing defense with 4 players. I think he's got the 2 trees, 1 halfling left. It was the tackle halfling, which we mentioned several episodes ago. That halfling somehow was the sole survivor of the halfling massacre in this game.
Contractually obligated to mention the tackle halfling.
Yep, yeah, exactly. And so so Wayne's playing defense with like 4 players at this point. Jurgen's team is still really slow, and Jurgen manages to set up a cage. And I think Griff goes for like a 4-up dodge to blitz the ball carrier, and fails it, falls over, and all Jurgen's got to do is make 2 go for it to score. He makes the first go for it, he fails the next go for it, and the game runs out of time. Jurgen loses 3-2. They rolled out the kicks to see what it would have been if Jurgen had managed to make it. Jurgen would have won on kicks, which is one of those irrelevant things, because it doesn't quite matter, but that is about as close as the game gets. Yeah. A failed go for it to tie the game, to send it to kicks. So incredible game, just outstanding game overall. Like, that's everything you want from a playoff game.
Yeah, by far, I think this round, top to bottom, quality has been excellent.
Right. Yeah, you play all season to get games of this caliber, right?
Yeah. Well, we've got our in memoriam for this game. We had, for Halfling Justice, we had Os Bracegirdle. And for Us Salesman, we lost Dolmayan.
Yeah, and that's actually an unforced error for Jurgen. I didn't mention this at the beginning of the game. That goblin was strip ball tackle. He had 2 random things. Jurgen forgot to mark him. And so on turn 1, Jurgen puts a goblin on the line near one of the trees because the intention was to dodge away. So he put that character on the line. And then he failed to pick up the ball on turn 1. He used a reroll then and lost the reroll. And so the tree just kills that goblin. And so you can't, how does the game play out if Jurgen's his best halfling answer goblin, his best Griff answer, right? Because he can dodge into a cage, go 2-die uphill. And he's like 50% or something to pop the ball loose out of Griff. if that player's in the game and not dead, how does the game play out? I don't know, right? Like, it's a totally different game, but Jurgen just unforced error, put this goblin in a place for him to explode.
Yeah. PSA, mark your models.
Mark your models, yeah. Yeah, know what you're getting rid of.
Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for this round. Before we get into the semifinals, we're going to take a quick break and be right back. Okay, we are down to 3 games left. There's a chance all 3 will happen before the next episode, depending on how things
schedules,
break out.
Yeah.
But we're in the semifinals. And semifinal number 1 will be happening the day after recording this.
Right.
So we've got Halfling Justice and Slaughterhouse 11.
Yeah, so the next 45 minutes of the episode is me describing every inducement scenario that could happen for this game. So strap in.
Yeah, it's hard to communicate this over an audio medium, but prior to starting the recording, Nathan was doing the Doctor Strange going through 14 million possibilities coming to the proper inducement plan.
Yeah, so let's see if I can condense it down to something parsable for like an audio format, right? What we've got in this game, so because of the damage that I took during the course of the Will game, I have 9 active players, which means as it stands right now, if we both just submitted our rosters, I would get 2 Marauder Journeymen to add to the game. Now my treasury has 285,000 gold in it. And that's because before the Will game, I rolled a 1 on my treasury and lost half of it, which was really stupid. That's the second time that's happened to me this season. Both times, I've actually thrown away money so that I would be under 400k. So I would need exactly a 1 for me to lose money in that situation. And so I lost half my treasury there, so I can't just like freeboot Morg and go into the game with like Morg. That was like my original game plan was if I had to play against Wayne, I would just go in with whatever my team is and then hire Morg, and then he has to decide whether he wants to dispel Morg or use that for other stuff and go into the game with like the Giant and whatever else. But I think the Bloodspawn and Morg are both actual reasonable threats into the Giant. Like they can actually get the Giant off the pitch, so I was fine with that scenario, right? Anyway, that's not what's coming to pass. Instead, I've got 9 players and 285 gold. So I can. I'm down 2 Khorne and 2 Bloodseekers for this game. I have 2. In addition to the guys who died, I had a tackle Khorne who's missing this game, which really sucks because this is like a type of game where block Juggernaut tackle just feasts. And then I had another Bloodseeker missing this game. And this is and actually I like Bloodseekers in this kind of matchup. 1, because 4 strength is harder for like halflings to gang up on. And 2, 4 strength makes it so that the trees don't get 3 dice on you. Mm-hmm. And so it makes them less likely to get knocked over. Plus, they're armor 10, so they actually have a pretty good chance of withstanding some mighty blow hits during the course of the game. I could buy a Bloodseeker. I could buy extra models. Wayne's team, he hasn't made any adjustments to it yet. I had 1 Bloodseeker who could take a skill, and I've already locked in the skill. I locked in Guard because I think it's the most useful skill in this situation where I may need to knock over trees at some point or another. At the very least, need to throw hits on trees. I would not have that option. Without like taking some extra guard. So the nature of the way that tour play works is that and the rules that we have written for the league, the way it works is like if both players agree they're not going to make any more changes to their rosters, if anybody makes the changes before the game starts, the other person gets a chance to kind of respond, and you go back and forth, making whatever changes that you want. So I actually think the only advantage that I have here, I can't undercut Wayne. I'm not going to do the Jurgen thing. I'm not going to scorch the earth because the players that I have remaining, I think, are actually good in the matchup. There's nobody that I think is dead weight on my roster. I think the only advantage that I have is I wait to see whatever changes Wayne is going to make. I don't make any changes, and then I submit my roster, and I keep the full 285 gold because then I have the option to induce, say, Borak if I want. I can see what his team looks like, and then I can hire a star player if I think it's good enough, and then walk into the game that way. So the reason I made the joke about spending 45 minutes talking about inducements is because just the way the inducement math works out, depending on if I take any inducements, then I give that extra money to Wayne. Yeah. And so really what he's got to decide is like he has multiple options. I think he's going to go with a setup where he's got Griff, Chef, and then he'll hire halflings down to the point where he can take Rumbelow. Rumbelo's got some use against my team because I've got 3 different Marauders with Wrestle, and I've got a tackle, or I've got a dodge Beastman, and so Rumbelow actually has lots of application against that setup, right? And so I think he's fine taking Rumbelow as the worst case. And then if I hire any star players, and trust me, I've considered hiring Hackflim. But if I hire Hackflim, then that puts him to 380, and he could take Morg, right? So it kind of I have to determine what star players I'm fine playing against. I considered Skitter as well because Skitter is I think Skitter's suite of skills is actually really good because he's got Prehensile Tail and Shadowing, which means if there's a situation where Griff can't just blitz Skitter off of him and he's got to run the other way, Skitter can be like glued to him. And Prehensile Tail makes it... Prehensile Tail is just really good against stunties because there's a lot of scenarios where if a stunty dodging away needs a 4, they're going to fail way more of those dodges. And so Skitter plus like tackle on key halflings can just really gum up the works. And Hackflim also has Prehensile Tail. So I think both of them are really good in this matchup. The question is do I think I've got enough on this roster to endure Mighty Blow plus 2 hits from either Deep Root or Morg if I take one of the star players? So,
yeah, that is going to be an interesting game, I think. Obviously, you're coming off a game against Stunty. Gnomes are way different, but...
They are way different. Actually, I think gnomes are easier to kill than halflings. Though I think my team was engineered... I've been engineering my team because I figured somewhere in this playoff structure I was going to play against a critical mass of dodge, and I was going to be ready for that. Now, 2 of my tackle guys are MIA for this game, which really sucks because I was trying to make sure I had enough tackle for this specific matchup. So now I got to deal with I look at like Withergrass Double Drool, then I don't think and I'm like, this guy's not good enough, right? Not enough strength, not enough speed. The thing that has always flummoxed Wayne when he's been playing halflings is the speed of characters, which is why I think either Hackflim or Skitter is probably the best call for this matchup, because there are board states where a gutter runner with the ball running the full distance in the other way makes it so that the halfling team does not have any good answers for them. And I could see where like Hackflim being able to dodge through tackle zones on 2-ups could end up being really good. And I think 3 strength on Hakflim means he's gonna Wayne would have to throw a lot of halflings at him to knock him over. I've already played against Morg, I don't know, 3 times with this team. I've killed him once. The other couple of games he's been still roaming around the field. I think Morg is way more mortal than, say, Deep Root, because Deep Root's got 7 strength, and I gotta find a lot of assists to get Bloodspawn assists into that, or Bloodspawn blocks into it. But yeah, I don't know. I might just lock my roster in and just go into the game as it is. Playing against Rumbelow, I think, is fine. Rumbelow is fragile. Rumbelow is significantly more frail than any of the alternatives. And while he's good into my team, I've got pieces on my team that are really good into Rumbelow. So
I think that is. There's only 2 games left, so it's hard to pick a game of the week.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to watch that one, and I will offer no further input into my selection for that game. But our other game, we got Bad Moon Rising, ROUS. I think this game, I guess if I had to give a game the game of the week status, it would probably be this one. Just because these coaches have had a long history of facing each other in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think Jim's got the lion's share of the record, right?
Probably.
Yeah. I probably should have looked this up before now, but I think traditionally Jim has won Kryptonite. Mm. There are not a lot of things that are won Kryptonite. Yeah. But yeah, they did not play in season 2. I don't have season 1 handy. Season 3, they did not play. Season 4, Jim won the championship over Juan. Season 5, they did not play. Season 6, we've got them not playing against each other, I believe. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. No, they did play. Juan got the win. That was Juan's vampire team versus Goblins. And that's not a good matchup for the Goblins, because the Goblins can kill every single thrall on the table, but if you've got a whole bunch of Giga vampires, then the vampires just still do what they want in the game, right? So that was that. Season 6. Season 7, I don't think they played. They did not. Yeah, so now this is the first time they've played since season 6 then. And Jim was on a completely kind of a goofy team at the time, right? It was a Goblin team that overperformed. I think it's just because Jim is really good at wrangling every single drop of efficiency out of a team.
Yeah. This is a rematch from earlier in the season as well. Jim had a gymming game, 2-1 win. So it would be interesting to see. I think that this Necromantic team really came along. And I know at the start of the playoffs, we were talking the team looked a little underdeveloped, obviously had lost a lot of key pieces. But now you've got 2 werewolves with block, dodge, and tackle.
Yeah, and one of those werewolves can even take a regular skill. Jim actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skills that he could potentially take before this game, depending on what he thinks is useful in this game or not. So he's been kind of managing his team value by not taking these skills. Right? That's an extra 100K, right? So I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't taken it. He's got to level up on a Mighty Blow Wraith. I think I would probably take Tackle for this game, just so that way you've got something that's a threat to gutter runners. He's got another Wraith. The Wraith that normally dies is in the place where you can take a skill. I would be tempted to take Tackle. Just you got gutter runners. You're playing against gutter runners. I'm just always tempted to take tackle to answer them, right? He's got a flesh golem with the skill. He's got a ghoul, block sure hands ghoul with skill, and then block dodge tackle werewolf all can take skills. So there's a lot of advancement he can do, and I'm interested to see what he's going to choose.
Yeah.
I mean, block guard is really good on the flesh golem. Then both flesh golems would be block guard, and that makes it so that you just kind of want to like get the Skaven into a scrum with you, right? Like you just want to create just like a massive pile and let your skills take over the game at that point. Yeah, block dodge tackle on a werewolf, that's real good at killing gutter runners as well.
Yeah, if I was like sitting there with gutter runners, I would be really scared of those because by itself it can, like, one werewolf by itself is just covering such a large swath of the field, and you're gonna get to, and you've got frenzy, so
yeah,
you've got to survive 4 dice with tackle. So
now let's imagine one of these werewolves had 30 extra SPP.
True. Also a wraith. I forget exactly what that wraith had before it died.
It's Jim said it was the wraith that always died because it died in the game versus Austin. Apparently it had died. It had been neutralized multiple times during the season already. So
yeah, I think that is going to be a very interesting game to see because, like you said, all those little micro decisions could lead to some very interesting inducement play. Being able to, like, I can pick and choose skills where I want them and still, like, get a star player that you really want somewhere in there possibly, or some other specific inducement you like. So
yeah, I mean the best star players available to him are like Ivan and Wilhelm, right? And I actually think Wilhelm is of minimal use versus Skaven because the claws are what's really good. One has even taken the extra step of pre-clawing his couple models on his team. Both his Red Ogre and Blitzer have armor down, so they're already optimized versus claws. They've shed that extra weight, so that way claws can't affect them. So yeah, I mean, like both the playoff games that Juan has played so far, he's done incredible amounts of damage to his opponents before, like, winning. I think there's a good chance that Jim can shake off the damage, and then like flip it on Juan and get some real big damage into him.
right.
So
Yeah, that's gonna be that I think is gonna be what it comes down to in this game, especially just having watched Jimmy's other games. Like, he is not afraid of going to overtime. If that's what it takes, he will play out that entire second half as if he's going to overtime too.
yeah,
So it's like, very conservative on rerolls, and then if he's just gonna put you in a position where it's like you can try to win in regulation, but if something happens and all of a sudden you cough the ball up and I'm sitting here with a full complement of rerolls, that you're in a bad spot.
yeah.
So.
Yeah, Necro is just like Necro's a very good positional team. It'll actually be like it's not easy for the one turn to happen against Necro because you can put the flesh golems and you can put like a wraith on the line, and that lack of repositioning makes it so that you can't just get like chain pushes, and it throws off all of the one turn math basically. Because I don't think Juan has he's got 2 players who can one turn, but they both have. One of them's got side. They both have sidestep and sprint, and so they need a chain push to get across the line as it is, and so Jim actually has the tools to prevent that on the roster. So.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting game to see. And then, depending on... Well, I think this game is happening on Friday, so we should get another episode in before the finals, hopefully.
Yeah, depending on how it plays out, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which will be good. But that's pretty much all I had for this week.
Yeah, I think we can just take a real fast. We can close out the episode mentioning submitting rosters for next league. Okay, I see. We've got 2 people who've got the rosters in. I know Warren's one of them, but I think somebody else got their in. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Fred's got his in as well. So we've got a form set up. So if you are creating a new team and you're adding skills to it, you'll create the team in Tour Play and register it for the league, and then you'll go to BB roster, make that roster, and add the skills to the players that you want, and then you can submit that. And so you've got up until the league begins to submit those. There's quite a lot of talk about new teams, but we actually have like a ton of like redraft teams entering the league. And so the reason we're not adding skills yet is because that's like a strategically disadvantageous for the people who have submitted their rosters. Anybody joining the league can go take a look at the skills that you've taken and then kind of like try to counterpick you. So that's why we haven't added stuff yet. Don't worry about it. We will take care of it before you get there. So yeah, there you go. That's news right there. If you did redraft your team from previous leagues, remember that we had like extra gold, and make sure that you leave 100K in your treasury. So,
yeah. One more thing. We're a little under 2 months out now for Palmetto Cup.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 weeks away or so. Yeah. And yeah, that'll be fun. I actually need to. I did a little bit of Khorne playtesting for Palmetto Cup. I haven't really found a Khorne list that I've liked for tournament play. I think it actually involves Skitter. Now that I think about it, like you probably just flex seal Skitter onto any Khorne team, and then boom, suddenly you've got a scoring threat that you didn't have before. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there you go.
Yeah, find your teammate. If you're looking for somebody, go ahead and post in the Discord. Someone surely will be looking to join you.
Yep, I'm looking forward to seeing who's coming from out of town this time around. We had a pretty big turnout last year, and we had a bunch of people from the neighboring league jump in. Team formats are always kind of fun anyway, because you get some flexibility with like the team that you make and whatnot. It's a fun time for sure.
Yeah, looking forward to intentionally playing this one and not being a ringer.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's gonna do it for us this week. Appreciate y'all listening. Wherever you are listening, we're on pretty much every major platform. So wherever you're listening, make sure you're liking, giving thumbs up, following, subscribing, whatever iterations of those options are available on that platform. And then maybe go to like a couple others and do that too. If you go to one additional platform a week, make the whole sweep. Do something like that. Make it better for us.
Yeah. So. Get 2 people to listen to the podcast, and you'll get to join the initiate level of Empire Games podcast listeners. And each of them will get 2 people to listen to the podcast. Yeah. You'll move up to the Demi-Lich level. I'm just looking around the room for things to name right now.
Yeah, eventually at the end, you get some very nice Avon Pink block dice.
The Empire Games Blood Bowl Mercedes that you get to drive around town in.
Oh gosh, that'd be a good one. That will be in communication to try to get that set up. But yeah, appreciate y'all listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye, everybody.